All right, welcome to the LongBox Paradox, episode 88. I am Dan with my lovely co-host Jennifer at Comic Books Will Break Your Heart on Instagram, or Comics Will Break Your Heart on YouTube.
Get it right, Dan.
And I never get anything right. You should know that by now.
That's part of the brand of the show, is that we never get anything right. It's like, whose line is it anyways? It's all made up and the points don't matter.
Have our guest, a fellow YouTuber and also Instagram and Twitter personality, ThatComicGirlll, Mars.
What's up, guys?
Put out a call to be on shows, and Jennifer was like, hey, we should have this person on. You don't really have a say in this. This is happening, so.
Pretty much. It's the implication.
So weirdly, I know you more from Twitter because Cinia retweeted something because, of course, you talked about, I think, Hereditary or
Midsummer, probably.
Yeah, I think you were gonna watch it. And of course, Cinia will go on and on about Ari Aster movies.
Oh
and
yes.
I had to throw my 2 cents in it, and then I started following you after that. So that kind of got you on my radar. And of course, the Comic Queen would repost some of your stuff quite a bit, and that is one of my good internet friends.
Oh, she's a wonderful lady.
So tell us a little bit about your channel and all that jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Mars, also known as ThatComicGirlll. I've been doing this for longer than I can even think, because it all started off with a little website called thatcomicgirl.blogspot.com. I would do reviews and in-depth thought pieces, and that slowly transitioned over into Instagram. It felt like overnight the Instagram comic book community just kind of came out of nowhere, and I was like, hi, I'm here. I love comics too. Let me be friends with you. And then it kind of just spiraled, and it was like, I can't really put all of this emotion and this passion that I have for the comic book medium just into words on a computer. I have to physically have somebody listen to me babble and cry and get really angry. And I had contemplated on doing a YouTube channel for years and was just too afraid and too nervous to do it. And one night it was like, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to make recommendation lists. And it's kind of evolved and become sort of like a booktuber type channel where I just focus on comics and I share the comics that I've been reading. But at the basis, my brand, ThatComicGirlll, I'm here to make everybody fall in love with comics, because at the end of the day, my whole thing is comic books are for everyone. And I stand by that 1,000%.
I love it. I'm like snapping my fingers over here.
That's one of the things.
Snap spirit fingers.
Some of the stuff that Jen and I have gotten is that some people are like kind of happy that we don't show our collection, kind of the dick measuring of comic collections. We just talk about the comics we like, and some of us the stuff we don't like.
And not necessarily like, I don't want to bash anyone who is like excited about showing off their collection, because like I feel like I have a moderate sized collection that I enjoy. Like I enjoy the medium, but when it's just,
girl, you don't have a moderate sized collection. How many long boxes were in that moving truck? There's nothing moderate about that.
It was about 20 something diamond boxes, like the shipments at the comic book stores, and then between the short and long boxes, about 20 or so. So
hopefully a pack better than Diamond's normal boxes.
Oh, of course,
oh God.
Of course. I worked at a comic book store for a pinch, and man, it's disgusting. Diamond.
It's rough. It's rough to see. I also worked at a comic book shop a little bit, and you always hear horror stories about Diamond being like a frequent flyer at your shop, and them having to explain, oh, I'm sorry, there's a little bend in the corner of this comic, but when you actually see it and you open that box and you realize how things are shipped, you're just kind of like,
I worked at a comic store when there was Diamond, and then Marvel's distribution, Heroes World, which was the worst place. Like, it sounded like you'd call about damages, and it sounded like a guy in a basement talking to you. Like, it's just one guy with like 5 phones.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Diamond. That's.
Oh no, this was Heroes World.
Oh, Heroes World.
Where Marvel's like, fuck it, we'll distribute our own stuff. Oh, we had no idea it was gonna be this hard. So I want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we start. I'll start out by saying what I'm about to say for Jen and I, it's our opinion, our prerogative on something. I'm not telling you how to spend your money or what you should spend your money on. Buy what you like. But we are not going to promote or discuss Dynamite Entertainment on the show. It's a choice. We don't really talk about them much anyway, but I mean, I used to buy Red Sonja and some of the Chaos books. But given the owner of the company's choices, I can't support them.
Yeah.
And according to one of our commenters last week, it's why Jen and I lost half our hair.
So I apologize for anyone who was wondering where our hair went, but apparently it's because being a social justice warrior makes half your hair fall out. So,
Yes.
Mine's coming soon, I guess, then.
Exactly. I used to joke, because I used to live in Florida, and all these old people would be like, what happened to your hair? Like, why would a girl do that to their hair? And I'm like, I went to the hair salon and asked for the half off discount, so they took half of it off. And they never really liked that. So they didn't, anyways, but so, Dynamite wasn't really anything that we did anyways, so, but it's just not, you're not going to find any reviews for them on this show, so.
And again, spend your money how you want to. I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. We're just not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it's a decision that we unanimously made. I know, was it Comic Lounge and a couple others also kind of came out and said we're just not right now. There was also the half-assed backpedaling on it by the owner, but you kind of already let that genie out of the bottle. There's no putting it back in. So
it's like the opposite of the Christina Aguilera song. Like there's a genie in a bottle. Sorry, I went there.
Wow.
That ages me, doesn't it?
Oh, don't even start. Also, I want to talk about the most annoying marketing I saw for the past 3 weeks.
Are we going to talk about crossover?
Yes. Fuck you. Seriously.
So for any of our listeners who doesn't know what was going on, but Image for the last couple of weeks has been, alluding to this big crossover event, and everyone was like, oh, like I remember seeing on their Instagram post, they had like 3 dots or something. And someone was like, oh, this creator also put 3 dots on their Twitter. There's going to be, they're going to do something with Marvel in the Image comic books world. Yep. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is going to be really cool. A big crossover event with Image. Woo. And then they came out and it's a fucking comic book called Crossover. And I'm like, we all just got fucking rickrolled here.
Yeah.
And of course I had to send the Rick Astley gif.
Yeah. And I would have been happy with it just being like a huge, Image crossover, because we kind of got a glimpse of that in the I Hate Fairyland Free Comic Book Day special a couple years ago, where we saw Gertrude going through the different like famous Image properties, and that was amazing. And there was always hopes that maybe Image and some big company like Marvel or DC would team up, but I just wanted to see Saga and something else team up. Like I would have been happy with just that, but yeah, we definitely got blueballed from Image for sure.
We did. They're never gonna give us up. Never gonna let us down.
Never. They definitely hurt us though.
They did.
As soon as I saw the one Image panel of the kid with the comic book and like getting blasted in the face, I was like, crossing over into the comic world.
Yeah, like I get it now. Yeah. Thank you, Image.
Yes, Kim. Thank you. It was. Also, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So our brand is being random and going off topic, and we've gone to Rick Astley very early in the show, so that is a sign of things to come. Clearly. So on to our comic reviews. Normally we bring 3 to the table. Sometimes I'll have extras just in case Jen and I overlap. Since you're our guest, you may go first.
Okay, well, my list is kind of crappy. I had a really, really slow week. So I picked up 2 books, but they're the same book, and it's
Ooh.
Die number 12, because I'm insane and need both covers, because eventually I will have a whole room just filled with Die art. And Die, I made a tweet about it. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I made a tweet where it feels like the longer Die goes on, the more and more it kind of feels like Wicked and Divine, where it's like that first trade of Wictive really brought me in, and I really loved the characters, but as it went on, I didn't know what was happening. And unfortunately, that's what's going on with Die. And granted, I kind of felt that way when it resumed before, after taking a long break. And then reading it in the trade, it kind of made a little bit more sense. But when I think about how I felt and how I still feel, because I just reread all of Die again for like the 90th time, it's ridiculous. But when I think about how I felt and how I still feel with that first arc of Die, it literally is just a perfect book for the medium. It really is. It seamlessly blends fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons and like the whole little teenage adventure. And I think it's a flawless, perfect book. And then you get to the second arc and it's like, what's going on here? But unfortunately,
I will argue issue 9 to me is the best of the whole run.
Which one was 9? 9 was the...
With the Bronte sisters, like that
okay.
To me...
I will say that issue alone is beautiful, and I do love that. But overall, and I don't know, have you guys read it yet? The number 12?
We did a whole...
Yes.
Oh
no,
sorry,
issue 12, I read it, yes.
I have not read issue 12. I was thinking if...
You need to read number 12, because there's somebody that shows up on the last page of 12.
Kieran Gillen's great. The mic drop end of the issue where it's just like, what the fuck?
It's just like, and I had to Google it because I was dumb and I was like, this name sounds really familiar. And I Googled it and I was like, I'm actually stupid.
Riding a bicycle up in that motherfucker.
So I'm just going to leave you 2 to yourself, and I'm just going to read this really quick. I'm just kidding.
Okay,
I'll wait to the end.
But yeah, Die, the more it goes on, and it makes me sad because it really is one of my favorite titles. It's one of the few titles that is still on my pool after like that first initial trade, because I'm the type of person where after like issue 5 or 6, once that first arc ends, I usually drop it. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go to trade. But with Die, I'm doing a double whammy. I'm doing both the single issues and the trade. And it's just really depressing because I don't know. I guess it's when you love a book so much that you just want it to be more than what it is. And like I said, Kieran Gillen, I feel like this is kind of his trope where he starts off really strong and then he gets really convoluted and he goes into these really big ideas. Like Wictive obviously is a big one. Die's getting up there. And even like his Darth Vader series for me, that first trade is perfect. It's jam-packed. It's beautiful. I'll read it over and over. But as it goes on, I sort of lose the momentum. I didn't say that right, but you know what I mean. I start to lose that passion, you know?
We also met a new god.
Yeah, we did.
No, I'm not gonna spoil.
We met a new... He doesn't feel like he belongs. It feels very weird.
No, because he's kind of a hipster god. Also, Ash, like... all of a sudden the rules of the world are changing. Like there's some interesting moments. I'm still like hooked. Like there's always something in there. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. And then the end of the issue, you're just like, whoa, hold up.
What happened?
Like, wait. And she's getting real familiar with the jailer going, hey, Charlotte. I'm like, you don't get to call Charlotte Bronte anymore. She's... No, she's the jailer.
Yeah, that's how that book is getting for me, man.
What was your rating out of 10 on it? What would you...
Oh, I don't rate books out of 10. This is hard. Like, we'll give Die number 12, I'll give it a 7. Like a 7? 6.5, 7? I don't know.
I'm sitting about the same. It's not one of the best issues, but like it ends with like a...
Oh yeah, no, yeah, but I think the covers are gorgeous. Like, covers are like this one in particular. I don't remember who it was that did it, but Franny.
Yeah, Franny,
gorgeous.
Franny.
Like these Die covers are just insane. Like
that Peach Momoko one, like, is a $25 book now.
Whew. Yeah, and Die was a book that I missed out on. I had put it on the I had picked it up, looked at it, was like, oh, it's Karen Gillian. This looks really convoluted. Put it back. And then when I was working in the shop, I binge read the first 5, and I was like, now I got to go back and find the first issues because I need all the covers, and they're so expensive now. But
that's kind of one of the arguments that I make, like especially when thinking about a lot of comic book YouTube is buying a $200-300 book and selling it for $600-700. Like I feel like that's a lot of the collectors and the speculators, or buying it at $70 and then selling it for $200. And I think that there's some value in that. But I think that when it comes to Image, like I read Image consistently, and I will almost always pick up an Image #1, even if I think it's shitty. I'll read it. If it's not great, I won't put it on my pull list, or maybe I'll keep it on my pull list for a couple issues until I drop it. But I think that when it comes to Image, I would recommend it. Like anyone who does collect and like flips books, you could almost guarantee on an Image #1 and a variant of an Image #1, getting your money back if you don't like it and selling it and flipping it. Easily you could make, if that's what your comic book collecting ish is.
I'm a long game speculator. I'll pick up stuff just thinking at some point it might go up. Not thinking it will, but I'll have a number in my head. The only thing that changed was with Batman Damned with the Batwang. When that fucker hit 200, I was like, gone. Peace out.
Yeah.
And then I picked up Silver Age books that I wanted. So
yeah.
I'm not a lady, but hello, Jay.
Ladies can be a gender neutral term, right?
Not last time I checked, unless there's an Urban Dictionary update I haven't seen.
Maybe.
Also, Jay, I'm waiting to hear what you think about Philadelphia. I know you picked it up, so let us know.
I still need to read that one.
So good. So good.
Aw, thank you, Jay. Thank you. Philadelphia, I'd say easily going to hit my top 5 of 2020. Not that 2020 was a great year for comics.
Yeah. It's kind of an easy game to beat, but
it's going to be a better year because there's some really, really good stuff that's coming out, especially
October seems to be like when we're going to get bombed.
In September, too, there's 2 really, really good titles coming out from Mad Cave Studios that I just secretly read on the side. And one of them is called Stargazer. Since we're talking about Die Anyway, what a segue here. Stargazer from Mad Cave Comics coming out in September feels like a beautiful blend between Die and Stranger Things. It's really weird. It's really bizarre. It has that same concept where something happens to these kids and then it jumps 20 years later and you're kind of left with like the aftermath and the pieces, and it explores shared trauma, and it's going to be a book to look out for sure.
We got the preview for Mad Cave. We got the preview for Dryfoot from Mad Cave, I think.
Yes, I got to read Dryfoot as well, which I still don't understand that title. I don't know if it's a cultural thing that I'm missing out on.
I think so. What is it one more time?
Dryfoot.
So, growing up in Florida and growing up in South Florida, there is something known as and this is, I don't know if it's meant to be racially charged, at least for the comic book, but there was a policy instituted by Bush Sr., I believe, and it was called the Wet Foot, Dry Foot policy, where basically people who were fleeing communist Cuba, if they reached Florida soil and their foot was dry, then they could come over and they could get status in the United States, because their foot was basically, if they could make it here to America from Cuba, then it would be easier for them to attain citizenship. So it is kind of like I wouldn't say a racial slur, but wet foot, dry foot policy is kind of the unofficial name of that policy that was instituted. I do believe in the last decade it was it's not a thing anymore. I'm not apologizing for getting political, so I'm not saying sorry for getting political, but that is where I know the term dry foot comes from. And it is from Miami, I think.
Yeah, it's set in Miami. It's set in the 80s, so I'm
Yeah.
not good with history or presidential history, but I think that's around when Bush was president. So, but that's going to be another really good book. It's that one compared to Stargazer, they're like two opposite books. Stargazer is a lot darker and a lot, I don't want to call it edgy, but definitely a lot more personal in the mental aspect of things, whereas Dryfoot is more like a really fun 80s romp. With a little bit of culture in there. And it's something that we definitely need to see more from comics because there's not a lot of Latinx representation, especially from Latinx creators. And you can really see where that inspiration comes from in Dryfoot. So if you need new books to put on your pull list, talk to your local comic book shops and put Stargazer and Dryfoot on your list.
Very nice.
Jen, what is your first pick?
Alrighty. So not necessarily anyone who ever watches our show or listens to it knows that there is absolutely no rhyme or reason to my review order, my damn laughs, because it's so fucking true. Once again, it's all made up. The points don't matter. And a lot of my feelings, a lot of my rating numbers for comic books, I've described it as mouthfeel. It's just about how you feel about the book. So anyways, speaking of representation in comic books, so one of my picks for this week is Yasmin by Scout Comics, which is a publisher in Fort Myers, Florida, where I used to live. But it's about a Muslim woman who's from Iraq and growing up there. The first picture, it does show her like in an American school, and it doesn't necessarily in here show her a lot in school, but it shows her history in Iraq. And I thought it was really interesting because I think that as a person who grew up, I'm, a millennial. So having grown up in that post 9/11 world, a lot of the medium, a lot of what you saw of Muslim Americans or that you see of Muslims in general is just that they're a terrorist or, anytime we saw Iraq, it was about the war and American soldiers going in and defeating a terrorist. And I feel like I got burned out on that. If I do see it in most comics, I tend to just ignore it. However, in this one, you kind of see a little bit of a different side, and you see why this girl basically comes here to America fleeing war. And so I think that this book is very relevant. I loved it. I loved the artwork of it, and I really felt connected to the character reading it. So if anyone really wants to delve into maybe a culture that they don't know much about, I recommend it. Is it a memoir released as floppies? I wouldn't necessarily say it's a memoir because you do see it from a couple different perspectives. If you can see it here.
Hello, Santa. Boy, you're just right into ripping on me right off the bat.
CD-ROM King Dan. I wasn't going to say anything about the CD-ROM thing, but, thank you for doing it for me, Sanimation. So I really like it. The creator and writer is Saif A. Ahmed. So I would recommend this one. It's definitely not, most people who know my picks, like my brand is like weird sci-fi, horror, gory, kind of darker stuff is normally what I like. This is not that at all. This is that like palette cleanser for me that was just an easy read. I would give this first issue an 8+ out of 10. So maybe not like a 9.5 or anything like that, but I would give it a solid 8.
The solid B.
Yeah, B+. B+ for Yasmin.
So, Decorum.
I was going to talk about that one. I'm glad you brought it up.
So, Santa, please. Don't let it die.
No.
Just like Michael Myers and Loomis, it needs to die. Let it die. So, Decorum number 3, finally, I got what I wanted.
It got somewhere. It went somewhere. Thank you, Jonathan Hickman.
And we're really out of left field. There's Hickman doing Whimsy, which it's so odd. Yes. I love The Messenger. She's at this school for assassins brought there, and she's like, I don't wear pants. I only wear shorts. I like shorts. Like just everybody's naming their assassin stuff. They're like, have you ever killed anybody? She's like, no, but I don't wear pants. I wear shorts.
I feel like Hickman, his writing style, and I've dubbed it like the Hickman dump, because he gives us like info dump in a lot of his books where it's just, here's the history, or here's the timeline, or here's the family tree, or here's a vocabulary list. Like in the middle of a book, he seems to, especially I think of House of X, Powers of X, and I was waiting for some actual substance from this book. It's a beautiful book, but the first 2 issues I was like, I'm sold on this book, but I cannot tell you why.
Every 3 pages, it was an info dump.
It was an info dump that didn't really even give you any info.
So we finally got character development in this one. Much, much needed character development. So I have a feel of some of these characters now.
Yeah.
I think I'm a solid 7.58 on this one. Like, finally it gave me something I wanted, where I wasn't just like, when I put it down going, why didn't I get more out of this?
Do you, if you don't mind me asking, do you feel like because when I read it, I was like, this should have been the first. This should have been the first
second issue. At least the second issue.
I feel like we wasted an issue on a lot of other stuff, but knowing Hickman and knowing he has such big ideas, I was like, I feel like eventually this information will be relevant, but I do wish that this was the first episode, the first issue. Like, if this was the first issue, I would be raving about how wonderful this book is. But I feel like I've been raving about how I know this book is going to be wonderful, and it finally got there.
Also weird that like he was even kind of like making fun of his own writing at times in it, where like the naming of the sisterhood and
of men,
and they're like, this doesn't really make sense. Like, why is this even here? And I was like, it's got a point. Like, he's kind of poking fun at himself, and I kind of think that's kind of funny, because that's not Hickman. That's not in his wheelhouse at all.
Can I just say, because I mean, most people who have been watching the show or have been following on Instagram or any other like of my bullshit on the internet, I've been reading 100 graphic. I've been reading 100 graphic novels in a month, and one of the
you're insane for.
Which is insane, and I'll carve out some space at the end for that. But I read Manhattan Projects, and I didn't like it.
Oh, so did you like it a little bit at the beginning? Because I know Sid said, like, when it got to the end, she felt like he just didn't care anymore.
Honestly, I felt that way, but maybe it's because I had known that perspective about the book before I read it. But it was like, there was so much going on, and I knowing Hickman's style, but also knowing that this was one of his earlier books, like, I believe it was pre-East of West, and it was obviously like pre-House of X, Powers of X, because that was
about Fantastic Four time, I think.
Yeah, so I knew that this wasn't going to be him having really developed that sense of like Hickman's style. However, the writing, it just felt kind of sloppy. Like, I knew it was there, but it needed to be refined a little bit, and obviously his newer writing has done that. So anyways, I read Manhattan Projects and didn't enjoy it as much as I thought it would, even though there's some big player scientist in it, and I thought the concept was really cool, but the execution was so poor. So
is this the part where I admit that I just don't really care for Jonathan Hickman, and I feel like his writing is, maybe my brain's too small to comprehend his big ideas, but I don't think I've ever really been able to connect with anything that he's done. Especially with the whole House of X, Powers of X, I was just completely lost on everything.
It's fair.
That is 100. I would 100% agree with that. I love Jonathan Hickman's writing, but that's because the first thing that I read of his was East of West, and that to me is just poetry. I know you love Junji Ito and Fluffs. I'm pretty sure you love. Yes, I saw that you posted Yan and Moo today, and I have it, but I
somewhere.
can't. Yeah, somewhere amongst my stacks and stacks of books. I did buy that one, and he's coming out with a book in August, and I want to do like a little like Junji Ito intro. So that may be coming on my like comic book channel, my like personal one soon. Who knows if I get to it? Because I really love Junji Ito.
So speaking of like writers we don't like or have love-hate relationships with, this Sunday we're doing a book club for Black Science, and Jen has a Rick Remender wall that she slams her head into. And it's going to be a fun episode because I'm a Rick Remender stan, and Gambit will be refereeing.
Here's the thing with Rick Remender. No. I have.
She's got her reasons.
What I have to say though is like I do have a love-hate relationship with Rick Remender, like 100%. And I honestly thought that it was more love than hate, but I read Low, and I don't think that I will ever willingly pick up another Rick Remender book. Like if he comes out with something with Image or something, normally, like I said, I will pick up like any Image #1. But after reading Low, and I think it's because of, no. I just, let me finish. I'll finish this and then we'll go into that. I just did not like Greg Ticini's artwork, and I feel like this is the 100th time I've screamed this. Greg Ticini, I'm pretty sure, saw porn when he was 15 years old and can draw one body style, and that's it. That's like the one.
Now who's worse, him or Greg Land? Because Greg Land, we know
literally does
drew
porn.
From porn. Literally drew from porn.
No, I 100% have no problem with porn. I have
me either,
wrong with porn. But I think that the way that
porn.
He traced the porn.
I don't even care if you trace porn. Like that's incredible. But I feel like all of his women look the same. Like if you, all of the women just look like they are the same woman in different outfits. Like I just didn't enjoy.
So we're talking like full on J. Scott Campbell here with the button noses and everything.
Kind of, and like the very thin, like that J. Scott Campbell, very like wispy, like thin waist, but still hips you can fuck. I don't know. I didn't like.
I'd say close to Stepan Sejic, but like.
Stepan Sejic did Sunstone, and I surprisingly, I avoided Sunstone for so long because I'm like, this is just some straight dude's like scissoring fantasy.
Straight dude, yeah.
Bondage, but it's scissoring fantasy, but it's so good.
It's a book about, oh my God. I know we talked about wanting to eventually do something about sex positive comics. Yeah. But Sunstone is one of those books where it's exactly what you said. It's just a straight white man doing, some type of weird fantasy, but it's not. And he has a lot of heart. Yeah, it's very charming. And I thought I saw something years ago about Stepan Sejic actually doing, I don't want to say research because that sounds really grimy, but he has friends who are lesbian women and are into the bondage community. And I think he kind of got their opinion on things so that way he could make it as realistic and as less fantasy as possible. Whereas if you look at another book about queer women written by a straight white man, I'm talking about Brian Azzarello and Faithless. That's a rough book.
I know we're 100% getting off topic, and I love it. This is what I'm here for. But when I initially read Faithless, I'm like, okay, I really enjoy this. I like it. And then, especially with the newer issues, to me it just feels problematic. Like I'm not enjoying it anymore. Yeah. And I don't know what the turning point is. I don't know if it's this weird relationship between Poppy and I don't even know the older dude, but it just doesn't feel like healthy.
It feels like a weird fantasy from Azzarello's part. Yeah. And it makes me sad. I'm not even reading Faithless Part 2. I was like, all right, I'm done. I saw it out through issue 5. I thought that's where it was going to end. And I guess because it sold a bunch of copies listen, I hate that book, but I'm still going to buy the really nice smutty variants because they're really
covers. That's it. I've never read it.
They're beautiful, but he's literally stereotyping women and queer women at that, and it's just really gross and rubs me the wrong way, which makes me sad because Maria Lovett's art is just chef kiss. It's beautiful. That opening page, those first 2 pages of Faithless, when they previewed that, I was like, all right, I'm here for this. I'm totally here for this. And then you got Brian Azzarello on the words, and I'm like, oh no, what have we done?
For anyone else who is watching right now who kind of feels the same way about Faithless, I would highly recommend Safe Sex.
Yes!
By Tina Horns. Highly recommend this one.
I didn't really dig that book at all. Like, I got the first couple of issues, and I was just like, eh.
Beautiful.
I think that one thing that kind of threw me off a little bit was there's some artwork style changes, and that threw me off a little bit. However, I just think that it's, I don't want to say endearing. There was a couple, I can talk about it more, but this one, I really enjoyed it. It's very, not only is it sex positive, but it's very like kink positive, which I found very nice. I like that.
I like how your
it's sex positive, it's kink positive, but it's also very, I don't want to say feminist, but it's very inclusionary. We see people of different color that are into this, not just painted as white people that are kinky as hell. It's people of color. We have trans people that are on the binary spectrum. And it's like, I've never felt more like seen in a comic book. And then it may feel like and sound like a little weird, but I feel represented, and I feel like other people would be represented, even if it gets a little weird at points, because you got to be careful who you open that book around.
Yeah.
But it really is. It's a comfort read, I feel like, in a weird sort of kinky way.
Yeah, it was a safe place.
When I was still a manager at Barnes & Noble, we had our book recommends, and I had the Big Hard Sex Criminals as my staff rec. And someone went to the counter and was like, who is this Dan person? And they're like, he's back there. And they're like, could you bring him up here? And they gave me a what the hell is wrong with me speech.
No.
I kind of laughed. So after that, I took the cover off, and I had the one cover with Down Boy on the Big Hard Sex World, where it had the goof cover with How to Put Your Animal Down. It's like Hitler had cats. He wasn't so bad.
Yeah. All right, Jay.
Just Sex Criminals.
Sex Criminals is great. Jay brought up Brian Azzarello on Wonder Woman, and I need to derail for like 20 seconds because
go for it.
I know I did this in my one video about his run on Birds of Prey, or his new issue on Birds of Prey. But Brian Azzarello, that book, I won't even. But Brian Azzarello writing that Wonder Woman run completely missed the point of Wonder Woman, completely missed the point of Themyscira and the Amazons, and the fact that
Meredith Finch.
We've talked about this. We'll get there. But the fact that he derailed Diana's origin and decided to suddenly make her a byproduct of Zeus, which at this point, everybody in history is a byproduct of Zeus. So you're basically saying, without saying, that she's a rape baby. But then to take it further, you actually said that the Amazons lured men to the island, raped those men for the sake of procreation, threw them overboard, and then when those children were born, the unwanted male spawns, because, no offense, Dan, men are trash, so I kind of agree with that point, but those male children that are unwanted, because it's Themyscira, of course, were sold as slaves to work in the Forge of Hephaestus. That is so fucked up, and I could understand if they did that in, say, like an alternate universe story. But the fact that they did it in their reboot continuum, which was supposed to be accessible to other people, and I'll admit, it was my very first experience with Wonder Woman in a comic, but even I realized something ain't right here.
Just read George Perez's run. That's all you really ever need.
No, read Greg Rucka's run. Rucka will always be SS Wonder Woman tier for me, always.
And as far as men being trash, I have a woman I can introduce you to. Oh wait, I can't talk to her.
You can't. Yeah, you can't.
Totally off subject with that now. I'm just gonna bury that one. literally, figuratively.
Well, I think Dan, to summarize the point here is that I think what we're trying to say is that are all men trash, but some women are trash.
Didn't you see the
Sometimes.
hashtag last year? Not all men.
Oh, I did.
You know, it was the first all lives matter, but
Oof.
yeah.
No politics in comics.
Yeah.
Whose turn is it anyways?
I believe it's Mars.
Oh God. I read Die. And Jen kind of hit me with SFSX because that's all I picked up. Should I just maybe talk what I'm reading right now? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't have it. It's somewhere. So I am currently rereading Judd Winnick's Titans run, which is a lot of fun for me because it's one of the first books that I ever read. And at the time I didn't know anything about DC. And now that I know things about DC, I'm like, this run maybe is not as great as I remember it. I still like a lot of the concepts of the Titans run with Raven's brothers and sisters being like the 7 deadly sins. I think that's really neat. But when you look at Joe Benitez's art, it is peak mid-2000s art. I feel like at any time Starfire and Donna Troy's boobs might explode on the panel and not in a good way. It's very, very, very 2000s. It's a product of its era for sure.
Yeah, Joe Benitez. I had a not great encounter with him at a show, so I don't have much to say. Yes.
Oh no.
He likes to get shit faced during them and isn't the nicest person.
Do you think that it's so funny because I think that there's a lot of creators that I'm like just waiting to hear, similar stories about like Warren Ellis and all of that. Like, because I feel like that's part of it. Has anyone heard any rumors about like him
kicked out by the promoters for being drunk?
Just being drunk? No, like other misconduct or anything?
Not that I know of. I will say one of the nicest creators I ever met, and unfortunately he's no longer with us, besides George Perez, Michael Turner. Michael Turner was one of the nicest guys. Like the way he handled fans and, there'd be people trying to get sketches from him and stuff, of course, and he'd be like, look at the line behind us. Like, is that fair to everybody? And he'd just be super nice about it. Like, he just knew how to handle people. Like,
yeah.
And he always would like make time. He would stay till the line was gone. Wouldn't just get up and leave like some other creators I've seen. But George Perez, like, he'll sit and talk to you. And I had Wonder Girl art that was done by another artist, and he like stopped. He's like, could you get that guy over here? I was like, what? And so I went over to get the artist over there. Like, George Perez wants to talk to you. He goes, it's late in the day, man. Like, really don't fuck with me. I'm like, no, like, he really wants to talk to you. And he's like, are you kidding me? I was like, no.
That's
George Perez shook his hand. He's like, I really liked what you did. And, like, seeing you did the classic version of my character. And, like, I'm just sitting there like, I'm going to cry just watching this.
But internally you were like,
oh, it's hanging up in my room, the sketch. And I've got
every day, right?
I got a George Perez one that he did too that same day, like next to it. I collect a lot of art. In particular, Kitty Pryde and Magic commissions. I have a lot.
Oh, Magic! Hello, new wife.
I have new school one, and then the old school New Mutants one.
Magic is a new wife for me.
I gotta say, I wasn't over the moon about Anna Taylor-Joy playing her, but the more I see it, the more I like it, because Micah Monroe from The Guest and It Follows was like, I always thought was like my peak person to play her. But
can we just have that movie come out? Like, who do I have to sell my soul to finally let that movie come out? Because I just think it's going to be a really fun horror superhero, like a horror comic book movie that we haven't seen yet. And it's
I watched the Comic-Con at Home panel yesterday, and they showed the trailer. Well, it's the opening scene and then like a little trailer footage afterward. Mm-hmm. And then they're like coming out August 28th. I was like, they're dooming it to die. They're literally dooming it to die.
They just need to release it straight to VOD or whatever it is.
Or even Disney Plus.
Are they doing it in theaters at all?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, August 28th. What theaters are going to be open?
No clue. But I'm kind of there with just release it on video or do Disney Plus, but I think that what theaters did after, what was it Fast and Furious or something, whatever movie came out, and then they released, and then theaters were like, how dare you not
Oh no,
put it in theaters?
Trolls.
It was Trolls.
Yeah.
So European theaters are supposedly open and doing well, at least in certain areas. So
really,
I guess that's where they're going to make their money. It said August 28th, fingers crossed at the end. And I'm just like, oh boy, like.
Hopefully we'll just get another really cool poster then, because that's at this point that's all I have.
Yeah, Bill Sienkiewicz put out another Demon Bear poster. I just want the movie to come out. It's been 5 fucking years?
5 years.
Too long. I need it.
Yeah.
I need it.
I've wanted to see magic on, and I'm like, okay, I'm in for Anna Taylor. And she, during the panel, she was so excited to be playing the character. She's like, this is the first character I've played where I stomp into rooms.
I think that's totally her character, though, like that resting bitch face, no nonsense, and I love it. Europe is a much better place, yeah.
Anywhere's better than here, to be honest.
Whew.
Well, at least you don't live in Florida. Literally on fire. What book? Okay, you did Titans. Jen?
Is it my turn? Okay, it's my turn, you guys. Alrighty, so the other title that I read, issue number 1 of, was Bliss. The cover I just thought was beautiful. It just looks like, he's kind of waving his hair in the wind. It's kind of beautiful. But the story is a lot more tragic. And did either of you? Well,
I did.
Okay, so it's
I
done
flipped through Bliss, and the art, it didn't do anything for me, and I feel bad, but.
No, that's all right. I enjoy Caitlin Yarsky's work. They both did a series called Coyotes, which I enjoyed. Bliss is very, very different. It's set in like a futuristic dystopia, and it goes to a weird, like, big concept sci-fi feel to me, and I liked that. I don't think that this title will I don't think this will hit all of the things for everyone, but the weird sci-fi stuff, to me, like, that's my brand, and I feel like this is going to go there. But I really also enjoyed the artwork. It did it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and rate this one. I would probably say a good 7 out of 10.
Not bad for a first issue.
No. What were your thoughts on Bliss, Dan?
It definitely was a better read than an actual, like, flip through for the art for me. The interesting thing was the drug and where he went. It kind of reminded me of the House of Black and White from Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Except instead of poison, it's stuff that makes you just forget. It was interesting. It was fucking dark. It was really fucking dark. It was depressing. Like,
it was very depressing. If Yasmin, like I said, was kind of my palate cleanser. So, like, where Yasmin was very, like, not happy necessarily, but I think that it was good and kind of delightful in a way. Bliss, I don't know.
Not
Two
blissful.
different stories. Not blissful, but I still enjoyed it.
Okay, so this is going to be not surprising. Low.
I'm just going to exit the room, y'all.
No, I think you're going to actually be surprised by my review on this.
Okay. So
it's been on hiatus for a while.
I didn't even think it was still going, to be honest.
It ends in October.
Oh.
It ends in October. I don't remember a fucking thing that happened from the last, like, arc. So I was literally lost. I picked it up. There's no, like, remember when this? No. Like, it literally just jumped right into action. I was like, wait, oh no. I don't remember where it left off. The art felt very rushed, which is surprising because it's been on hiatus for what feels like 6 months at least.
Yeah, because I think at least right before the pandemic hit and right before quarantine started.
Oh no, even earlier than that, I was still dating She Who Shall Not Be Named. So that had to have been at least November. And I like I said, it just went right into everything. The coolest part of it, they show the helm suit in action, and it was impressive. But again, like I have to go back and read the last arc because I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
So I'm probably sitting at about a 5.5 or 6 on it.
Oof.
To me, that still feels overrated. My expectations out of that book are really low. Rim shot.
She got him.
Yeah, I literally, like, maybe my expectations were super high, but I jumped into it and I was just like, oh, wow, okay, I don't remember anything. It's literally right in the middle of action. Takachini's art, especially of the characters, looked very, very rushed. But near the end of the book, it's like he was very interested in drawing again. Where some of the underwater scenes with the mermaids, that it was like kind of impressive. Backwards. Again, there's 4 more issues, so it's getting to the end, and I always kind of disappointed when books are ending because I feel like they're never satisfactory. Like Paper Girl still is like one of the ones where I don't know what I was expecting.
I kind of disagree. I think that it ended where it needed to.
Oh, it needed to end, but I didn't feel satisfied by the ending.
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of get that, but
I haven't reread it since.
Salty. I
careful because I still need to finish it. I didn't finish the last trade, but that makes me sad to hear. I don't know if I ever expected anything from Paper Girls. I just thought it was really fun and really neat.
Yeah. After reading the entire series in 2 days straight, like over the course of 2 days, it was a lot, but I think that reading it in those 2 days, it makes sense because maybe to your point, Dan, like it started and then it ended for me, like just reading it all the way through. So I don't necessarily think that that's where Brian K. Vaughan started with it. Like I don't think that he started the series knowing where it was going to go, to be quite honest, but then just needed to finish it. So maybe that's why it felt that way. So, however, officially picked up by Amazon.
Yay!
Saw that.
So that's some good news coming out of Comic-Con at home.
That's really exciting. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
And they'll probably make it like Stranger Things more than anything else.
I think that what they'll do is they'll kind of do a Ready Player One type deal where they will put in as many like little nostalgia nuggets as they can. I think Ready Player One, the book as well as the movie, did that pretty well, and I think that I that was one of my favorite parts about Paper Girls is just all of the little nostalgia nuggets. Sorry, I got a little cat right here who wants some attention.
Go look at the cat.
Mine's scared of all the lights. He won't come in here.
Aw.
So it's your go again, Mars.
Okay, so I'm just gonna. There's something sitting here, so we're gonna see what it is. I think I'm in the process of reading it. It's this counts, right? It's called Oh My Sweet Alien. I'm trying to read more manga because manga are comics, and I'm just trying to be a little bit more diverse in what I read. So a really good friend of mine reads more manga than comics, and so we're kind of like throwing things back and forth. And this is kind of like a cute little happy read. It's about a husband and wife, and his wife is an alien, but she wears a human suit. So it's like really cute and really quirky and a little dirty sometimes. Like the very first like couple pages are he comes home and she's not wearing her alien suit because it's drying or whatever, and their neighbor comes over to bring them like a casserole, and it's like, oh, don't come in, and like they're trying to squeeze her into this suit, and like she just hears like grunting and groaning, and then when they finally do open the door, they're both like covered in sweat and like half their clothes are off, so the little lady next door thinks that they're doing some nasty things, but overall it's really fun. It's a really lighthearted read. I still need to finish it, but this is like one of the things I really like about manga, at least the manga that I've been reading lately, is it's a lot of small slice of life stories. So again, it's one of those, it's like a palate cleanser, which is always nice, especially because comics can sometimes feel really, really heavy. And don't get me wrong, manga can too. Battle Royale, I'm looking at you, but I feel like with manga, it's a lot more lighthearted. And yes, Way of the House Husband is definitely one of those really good books out there, and is another book that I feel like people should be reading because it's a good time. It's fun, and that's what comics need to be. It's fun.
Be a more satanic Sabrina.
Yeah, a little bit more satanic.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, you are a little twee though too.
Am I though?
Yeah,
I feel like
moments.
that. I do have my
personal attack.
Twee moments. I do. Boy howdy. So I had to get that in there. So far, what was that book called one more time?
This one is Oh My Sweet Alien.
Oh My Sweet. I feel like I identify, like when you said that it's an alien pretending to be a human, like I feel like on a daily basis, like when I clock out from work, and not that I come home because I'm at home doing work, but it's like I take off my human suit. So I 100% identify with that. So
yeah. I don't know if that was like the it might be a metaphor. It might just be Japan is weird and cute and they want to do weird and cute things, but
it is also that Japan is weird, yeah.
Japan is very weird.
It just sounds like an Ed Gein thing. I had to take off my human suit.
I came home and I had to take off the human suit. It's drying. I love that.
It's curing. Okay, Jen, your last one.
My last pick. So I feel like most of the ones that I like typically, I usually have a lot more like science fiction or like things like that. But my last one that I really enjoyed was Wind. James Tynion writes this, and coming off of a book like Something is Killing the Children, and then this, it just feels like two completely different styles. And man, this one is so, it's lighthearted and it's really great. It's like these two kids live in this, I don't want to say a magical kingdom because it's like magic is forbidden, and the kid can't be found out because he's magical, and magic is kind of banned. So they have to find a way to disguise that kid. So this one was it was really cute. And I forget the one little girl's name, but she's like a plumber, and it keeps saying stuff because she's been working all day, like, oh, you smell and things like that. And she's like, oh, that's a compliment because I've been working hard. So I like how it doesn't take that approach to hard work, is that you're a lower class because you're working hard. It's like, no, it's a compliment. Like, I've been working hard all day, so that's why I'm stinky. Duh. So I just thought that was adorable. And like I said, very, very different than what I'm used to with James Tynion. So I'd probably give this one maybe 7 out of 10. I feel like I've seen and felt these themes before because it's very fantasy tropey, but with characters and like a conversation style between the characters that, I don't know, it's unique. So I like it.
And it's also Peach Momoko 1 in 25 variant for that.
Oh, I didn't get that one. I just got whatever one the shop had.
Yeah, my LCS was like, I ordered 25 of this book just so I can get the Peach Momoko to sell. I was like, you go. So I have 2 hot takes and my actual book.
Uh-oh.
So Batman 95. I don't understand the punchline shit.
She's cute. That's all you need to
You're the
understand.
joke. You're the
Great
joke and she's the punchline.
Great character design. Horrible writing and storytelling. Like, it's just, she's just there.
She's cute. That's all that matters.
She's just there.
It's because you're the joke and she's the punchline. Don't you get it? Don't you
I know.
Get it,
I
she's
saw
the
it.
punchline. She's the punchline, and you're the joke.
And also, Sin's Rising prelude for Amazing Spider-Man. This is like the darkest Spider-Man story I've read in a long time. Nick Spencer did something I hadn't seen since he wrote Bedlam. Like it was disturbingly dark.
I feel like I want spoilers, but I don't, because I don't like read that character. But
it was all about the villain,
the
Sin Eater. It was an interesting, weird issue, like one-off, that brings this character back, and it was very interesting to read, and kind of worth just checking out, especially to see what this storyline is going to be about. And if you had no knowledge of this character before, the Sin Eater. So my actual pick is The Last God #7. This is one of my favorite Black Label books. It is kind of a fucked up, like, Lord of the Rings, where these characters go to take on their version of Sauron. They fuck up. They don't actually kill him, but they tell everybody they did. And he comes back with a vengeance years later.
Oh, wow.
But everybody thinks they saved the kingdom, and they're celebrating the one guy, their version of well, I guess the one character who I guess would be what is the relative of the one who cut off the finger of
Isildur?
Yes, Isildur. So basically, it's him. He becomes king, but the lie is revealed.
Oof, that's a big oof.
Yeah, and like they have these things they call the flowering dead. When you're infected, like it's like a horror anime. Like shit just starts growing out of you. I really enjoy it. It's the art on the cover actually matches.
That looks
the
like
interior.
The Wilds. Sorry, you said the
book.
Flowering Dead. That I feel like that. I mean, I haven't read Last God, so I don't know, but it reminds me of what happens in The Wilds, where it's like zombie apocalypse, but you get flowered.
Like,
very fun guy.
Some of the art from it. It's kind of hard to see. Wow. Just a very well-drawn book, well-written. I've really enjoyed it. I don't know if they put out a trade for the first part of it. It did go on like a weird... Well, I mean, the COVID happened, so it kind of went on a forced hiatus. But I totally like checking it. It's worth checking out. I would, if you get a chance.
Do you think it's going to be a maxi series, or do you think it's going to have, like, do you think they're going to try and make it for as long as they can?
I believe it's going to be because this is considered book one of the Fellspire Chronicles.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, they're planning on bringing that one out for a while.
Yeah.
This surprises me coming out of DC. Like, I know that it's the Black
I was going to say that, yeah.
I know that they've been doing a lot of that, like, Hill House stuff, and I feel like they've been doing a really good job of reiterating, like, rising Vertigo back up from the dead. Like, this is Vertigo coming back with not being Vertigo, but not using, like, a lot of DC characters, I guess. But
yeah, Black Label's one of those weird things where, like, Batwang almost killed it right off the bat. Yeah. No pun intended.
I don't think so, because I think that whenever, like, issues like that happens, people always come and look at, like, when I was at the store, like, we couldn't keep that on the shelf. Like, we literally that day we opened up the store with 0 copies available of Batwang.
And I don't know why DC took it in such a negative way. It's like, people are talking about your book. You're basically getting free press, and yes, it's about a Wang, but it's not like people are saying the Wang is gross. Like, people were complimenting the Wang, and it was free press, and yet DC was like, "Oh, we gotta burn it forever. It's gone. We don't know what nudity is. Bye."
If there's,
like,
If there's any DC editors or DC people who are looking for a sales pitch, I'm gonna go ahead and pitch my. I'm gonna shoot my
Batwing
shot
Rises.
right here. No. Ooh, but that's a good one. So here's my pitch, because we have Batman year 1. We have Batman year 100. DC, I'm here and I'm telling you, I'm gonna write for you Batman year 18, barely legal. So if you're looking for something good for your black label, Batman Rising,
Damn.
I don't know, whatever you need me to write, like I'm here. I'll be writing my fan fiction. I'll put it on a floppy disk. I'll send it to you. I'll make like a live journal or dead journal fan fiction account, Tumblr account. Does that? You heard it here first, folks.
Barely legal, 18.
Year 18, barely legal Batman.
But here's the question: will you have a variant from Frank Miller?
No.
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 Dan, you're laughing at me like you wouldn't read the shit out of this.
It's just gonna be like coming hard, no blue balls here. Yeah, just something stupid. Like
it's gonna be beautiful. Just wait. And I'm gonna have Batman say something like "Boy howdy." Jen writing Batman. Yes, on fanfiction.net. Yep, I'm there.
It'll be him getting ready to go out, and he's looking in the bat mirror, going, "Would you fuck me?" I'd fuck you.
Goodbye, horses.
Nope.
Yeah,
they'd be doing the Prince bat dance. Batman. I'm sorry, Mars. This is actually a normal episode.
I love being a part of this. This is great. I love it.
See our viewer counts going down as this goes.
Beautiful.
That's all right. We're here for a good time, not a long time.
Not a long time.
Oh, it's all right. When we had Nat, D-Comic Queen on last time, like she was like looking up plane fare to go to Portland. She's like, "So can I stay in your apartment, Jen?"
I'm like, "Sure, you're gonna be sleeping on a stack of books, but why not?"
Some long boxes.
Yeah, I'll make a nice little like comfy couch.
She's like, "There's a bar back. Wait, Lovecraft? Wait, well, hold on. She's on the computer looking up as we're having a discussion. I love her. She's so...
Great.
So onto the entertainment stuff.
Would you guys be okay if I stepped? I'll be right back. Okay.
Ooh, I don't know. What are you gonna good? What are you doing?
I have to.
I'm joking.
Call. I'll be right back. Okay.
The Dark Knight of Consent. Oh God. The Warren Ellis story. Or be that Cameron Stewart.
Speaking of Warren Ellis, why haven't they canceled Batman's Grave yet? Like, I'm so confused why, with all of the allegations, they're still allowing that book to continue.
Everything's already done. People have been paid.
Yeah.
So, but they canceled his Dark Knight's metal or heavy metal.
They did. They
did
cancel that.
Because I guess that wasn't solicited or anything else. So wasn't done, or there was enough time that they could change out what needed to be done. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still so fucking disappointed because like Planetary is one of my all-time favorite books. I
don't really love Warren Ellis so much for his comic books, but Warren Ellis is the showrunner and big writer for Castlevania, which is my all-time. Listen, that show is so perfect and so beautiful, and now I'm like, well, okay, you're gonna lose your big writer, so is the story gonna go downhill? Do I even want you guys to continue? But at the same time, I don't want to discredit the hard work of everybody else that works for that show, but it's so disappointing to hear it. But
you'd at least think there's a writer's room kind of on that, so maybe like they understand the feel of it.
That's what I'm hoping. But it comics is that's how it is with any form of entertainment media. I mean, we've seen it happen. It feels like it happened simultaneously in the comic book community as it did with the video game community. You saw like the Smash Brothers, all of those players were being outed for sexual misconduct and other misconduct, and it's like,
so I'm a big Destiny player.
Yeah.
And their community manager went and fucking named everybody because there was there was a huge thing going on with the community and Twitch people. He outed all the motherfuckers.
That's good though. That's
how it harassing. And then they made a big blog post. Bungie, like, they've expunged those people. They're not invited to events anymore. They're not getting any kind of attention from them.
It's like, I mean, that's how Smash Brothers was, and it was like, and it feels like with both that and the comic book community, it really feels, you know, that scene in The Incredibles when he's standing at the screen and he's just flashing through all the heroes and it says deceased. That's how it feels with like these big entertainment people, as it's like we're just clicking through and it's like harassment charge, and it's like big. It's just a big oof. It really is, and. Like, I don't want to say that, unfortunately, that's what comes with this type of content, because it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. But I know firsthand what it's like to experience not so great comic book creators at a convention being kind of gross and kind of trying to take advantage of, like, just a fan that really wants to, you know, connect. So.
Yeah. I
mean, it does. It really does.
I mean, like, it's rough because, like, I have that thing. There's certain creators that, like, I guess I held to a higher standard, and Warren Ellis is one of those guys I thought was just a genius, and I don't ever want to think about that. Like, I had that moment, like, Frank Miller, I'm a big fan of, like, not so much his recent work, but, and I remember when Holy Terror came out, and I was appalled. And I was like, well, I can say he finally lost his fucking mind.
Yeah.
And he's calmed down, but, like, I'll still have that book in my head every time I read anything, no matter what like, when he came out and made the Black Lives Matter post, I was like, you put out a book about a Batman-like character, like, killing brown people. Like,
now, what was the Holy Terror? Was that part of his Sin City universe? See, I'm not a big fan of Frank Miller, so aside from like Sin City, his Batman stuff, his Daredevil stuff, and 300, of course, I'm not really familiar with anything else he's done.
So after 9/11, he was going to put out a Batman book that was like Batman taking on Al Qaeda. Oh. It was too over the top for DC, where they're like, no, we're not putting this out. So he changed the names and the characters up and then independently put it out. And it is so wildly racist.
Really?
Like, it's hatred towards, like, Muslims in general. Like, it's just... It was bad. Like, it just... I was like, okay, Frank needs to be put in timeout. Like... We didn't get it in All-Star Batman and Robin, but now it's really time for him to be put in timeout.
Yeah, no, All-Star Batman and Robin is really where I was like, how is this man still being allowed to write comics?
But weirdly, I listened to Grant Morrison on Kevin Smith's podcast, and he said if you read that book from a young Dick Grayson's perspective, that's supposed to be the POV when you read that book, it makes sense that he'd be looking at him like a fucking lunatic.
Yeah,
but I don't think
that's
kind
of weird.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Very weird.
I mean, I'm still weirded out. The whole Killing Joke animated version that they did, I've got a lot of thoughts on that still. Like, that's a hard book in general to start with, and then you add in the Batman Barber relationship into that.
I just want to sit in the room and hear why they thought that it was a good idea. Like, who was it that was sitting down, probably never read a Batman comic or never probably even read The Killing Joke? It was probably just some Warner Brothers executive, and they were just like, Batgirl and Batman, they should fuck. And it's like...
Oh no! It's 100% worse than that.
Wait, really? No.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, Brian Azzarello wrote that.
All right, I need to leave. Goodbye. Oh my! Are you serious?
Yeah. He got called out during a panel at San Diego Comic-Con. Almost got into a fight with a reporter during the panel.
All right, I've said this before. I'm gonna say it again. Brian Azzarello should not be allowed to write women. Period. He should not be allowed to write any woman ever. Just no.
Weirdly, like my big book by him that I like was 100 Bullets. That's where my whole, like, I guess fandom of him, but really like anything else he's written, I've not been over the moon about.
Yeah. I've always said that, like, and I know you're a big fan of Frank Miller, so you might take a little offense to this, but I always felt like Brian Azzarello was the modern Frank Miller, and not in a good way. He was always that edgy boy trying to push the boundaries and doing something a little more like for shock value versus just putting out, meaningful content.
Yeah. I get. Hey, Nat.
Hello.
It's like she knew we were just talking about her. So yeah, Frank, to me, like, most of my love comes from his Daredevil run, of course. Those Batman books like Year One and Dark Knight Returns, Sin City. It's different. I think that's kind of where the turn started with him.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Strikes Again, I have no answer for. I will never have an answer for. I don't know what the fuck happened with that book. That's where the art style started turning. I'm like, what is this? I will say the last Dark Knight series that came out with Azzarello writing it wasn't terrible.
I actually forgot that he did that. Like, I kind of just pushed that book to the back of my mind, but now that you say that, I'm like, holy shit, Brian Azzarello wrote the last Dark Knight Master Race book. Holy shit.
Yeah, the Golden Child one shot was actually pretty good too.
Was that by him as well, or was that somebody different?
No, that was Frank writing with art by Raphael Grandpa.
I love his art. His art is great.
I'm up and down with it. Sometimes I really like it. Sometimes it wasn't. That one in particular I kind of liked. So what is a book that you're reading that you think people may be sleeping on and should be checking out?
A book that I'm reading that people are sleeping on, Bleed Them Dry from Volt Comics. 100%. The first issue literally just came out, so I feel like I'm kind of cheating. But Bleed Them Dry from Volt Comics, the first issue just came out. Actually, the second issue is about to come out. I think it starts next week for that. But Volt Comics is one of my favorite publishers. They keep putting out hit after hit after hit. But Bleed Them Dry is just one of those books that changes the comic book medium, and it blends vampires and ninjas together, and I feel like those two shouldn't work effectively, and it's really well done, and it's really interesting, and I love Bleed Them Dry a lot.
That was the Vault title, correct? Sorry. Hi, I'm back again, everyone.
Hello, you're back.
Hello. I just had to take a very important work call. But I hope I'm not interrupting anything else, but can confirm Bleed Them Dry. Like, I feel like it was going to be one of those titles that was like, it could go either way, and it went in a great direction. Like, hi, Nat. So I 100%, I know I'm like jumping in here. So thank you for that. But Bleed Them Dry, this like vampire story, I'm very excited for it.
And they do different things with it. And the way that first issue ends alone is just, it blows your mind. And I got the pleasure of, can I please be on that episode? But anyway.
No, absolutely. Like, you'll have an open invite if you want to come back on.
But I got a chance to read the second issue of Bleed Them Dry, and let me tell you, it gets a little crazy. It's pretty great. I love it.
Jay, read Heathen.
Yeah,
Heathen is so good. It's so gay.
To me, that's like the 100% in a very like delightfully positive way, because like a lot of books that you read that have queer characters, and like, you know, we talked about this on the episode where we talked about our favorite LGBTQ plus characters is that like a lot of times you see a lot of tragedy that is written needlessly for queer characters, and with Heathen I feel like there is a little bit of tragedy, but like it makes sense for the storyline as opposed to just like dead fridging someone.
Yeah, and queer stories, it feels like they're always one of two things. It's always that fridging aspect, tragedy, or it's finding yourself and coming out and being okay with your sexuality. And I feel like Heathens does do both, but it does it very effectively and very subtly that helps drive the story. But also read The Savage Shores, because that might be the other best title from
So,
Volt.
Jen, when you popped in, you missed our Brian Azzarello, what he wrote in the Killing Joke animated, so gladly you weren't there for that.
Yeah.
And there's some Frank Miller talk.
Oh, great.
And we're doing books that people might be sleeping on that they should be reading.
Ooh. I feel like I have a lot of opinions on that, but books that people should be reading. I feel like I say this every single time, but there are people who are still sleeping on Saga, and I don't know why. If you are sleeping on Saga, I don't get it. To me, it's like that willful ignorance. You know, you either know about it, and I don't know, man. Just read Saga.
If you don't like Saga, there's the door.
Yeah. You know, I'm trying to think of maybe ones that are a little bit. One that I think of is Canopus by Scout Comics. It was weird and delightful. I really enjoyed it. I think the 4th issue was the one that came out this last week, and it's the last one. I'll have to get back on that one because I was not prepared for that one.
I've got mine ready. Devil's Highway #1 just came out from AWA Comics by Benjamin Percy and Brent Schoonover. I love like pulp kind of horror, serial killer, whodunit. This is so masterfully done. Like, it's better than it should be. Like, I knew nothing about it, and the cover, just something in it popped, and I fucking loved it. Like, it's so good. And #1 just came out 2 weeks ago, so totally still able to pick that up. Also, Philadelphia is a $9.99 first image trade. Pick that shit up. Like, again, it's a vampire book where I've seen everything with vampires, or I thought I did, and they take a little Guillermo del Toro's The Strain, hit it with a little bit of The Wire, little American Revolution in there. It's a great book, and the writer Rodney Barnes likes to search his title of his book, so he'll hit up if you ever mention it.
100%. Like, I feel like, just to reiterate Philadelphia there, I think it was a little bit of a sleeper hit when the single issues came out, because I know I hadn't picked it up, but luckily you had told me about it, and I caught on to it like a pinch later and was still able to get the first couple copies. And man,
it was the Saga ASMR.
Oh yeah, I'll read. So I do need to record that. I'm going to read Saga and just read bedtime stories and just flip the page.
So I get to hear you whisper gently in my ear, am I shitting?
Yes.
It really feels like I'm shitting.
Am I shitting? It feels like I'm shitting.
It started with the joke because she started off her first video. Hello, I'm Jennifer.
I'm Jennifer. This is Comics Will Break Your Heart. And I don't know. I'm not like this in real life. Or I'm not like that in real life.
Yeah. But I guess I have some homework. I guess I need to pick up Philadelphia. I keep seeing it at the shop, and I'm like, I just bought like 25 graphic novels, so I need to stop. But I guess I gotta pick it up. And especially with it being only $9.99, like I'm really excited. I feel like we lost the $9.99 image trades for a while. Like, maybe I'm just crazy, but I felt like we weren't seeing them, and I feel like within the past month we've seen Philadelphia, SFSX. The fact that that's a $9.99 book and has 7 issues in it is ridiculous. Undiscovered Country was another $9.99 trade, and then Family Tree was $9.99. Now, granted, that one only had 4 issues, but it feels really good to see those $9.99 trades again, because I know when I first started reading comics about 10 years ago, it was those $10 trade racks from Image that were dragging me in because it didn't feel like a huge investment, and it was also a way for me to get other people to read books. So I'm glad to see a return for them.
Jen and I talked about it a week or two ago, like the weird things that like Image goes overboard promoting for number ones, and then others just sneak by that they don't promote and end up being better than what they went heavy on. Like Philadelphia got no promotion, like at all.
But was fantastic. But then Mercy. And can I just say, because I went and I read, and I know I'm like staring at my stacks, and it's because
yes, that Undiscovered Country is already in trade.
It came out last week.
Yeah. I picked up a couple of it's funny, I have Undiscovered Country right here. I read this, and I really liked the first couple issues, but then I feel like when I finished it, it didn't do it for me. So I don't know if I'm just like waiting for the next arc on Undiscovered Country.
I feel like Undiscovered Country was hyped up because it was a Scott Snyder book, and here's a hot take. Here's a hot take. I love Scott Snyder. I always call him Zack Snyder, so I got to be careful. Yeah. I love Scott Snyder. I have had drinks with Scott Snyder. He is probably one of the chillest dudes I've ever met. One of the nicest dudes with his little funky eyebrow. I love the guy. There's something about his writing. He's got a funky eyebrow. He's always got one that's like cocked. But there's something about his writing that doesn't stick with me, and I feel like it gets really overhyped, and I feel like that's what happened with Undiscovered Country, because everybody was talking about it, and then like Nat said, the trade is already out. I was surprised when the trade was already out and it was in my box, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna read it.
I kind of feel like he kind of lost his mojo. He stretched himself too thin. There's certain characters I just think he's poor at writing, like Superman's one of them. I just don't think he has the voice. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. Like, I want him to go back to his horror stuff. I want that more than anything else.
Are we ever going to see a continuation of Witches? Because I feel like that kind of got left.
That's actually he did an update about that. Jock has the scripts.
Oh wow! Okay.
American Vampire is out next month.
Wait, is this real? Because I have definitely been critical of Scott Snyder's writing on Twitter and have never been DM'd. So
you haven't been blocked like Dan was blocked by Tom King?
Okay, wait. Tom blocked you? No, Dan. Do I need to talk to Tom? I have Tom's number. Do I need to call him?
We need to get him on right now?
No,
Let's bring Tom in.
Do you want me to bring Tom in? Because I'll do it. No, okay. That makes me see. I know that you've always been a little like. That's why I've been trying to skirt it. Tom King is like my comic BFF. I love Tom King, and I will fight for Tom King.
Here's the thing. I think he's a shitty Batman writer. I like his other stuff. His Heroes in Crisis was fucking abysmal. Natalie and I became friends because of it.
Heroes in Crisis is not his fault. Heroes in Crisis is Dan Didio's fault, and I will always stand by that. It was supposed to be an entirely different book, and then Dan Didio was like, well, what if we made it a whodunit? And we made it. It was supposed to be like this kind of indie trauma book. It wasn't supposed to have all this weird murder and shenanigans in it and Wally West killing people in it. I'm sorry if I just spoiled Heroes in Crisis for you, but that's how passionate I am. But I hardcore disagree on you saying that he doesn't write a good Batman, because I think he writes the best Batman. And that's where Dan ejects me from the show, and it's just over for me.
No, it's opinion.
Yeah.
I literally, there was one issue that I thought was so abysmally bad, like dialogue wise. I wanted to punch somebody. Like, I was that angry, and I don't know who told him how a teenage girl writes or talks, but God, Gotham Girl's dialogue was so horrible.
Okay, so I'll admit, when I do read Tom King's Batman, I do skip that whole first arc because that whole first arc is just awful.
No, I'm
and
talking
really
about
bad.
later on. And cat.
Stop!
Bat,
I like that.
Bat.
I think it's cute.
Oh, and James
it's
Tynion
romantic.
brought it back.
It's cute.
James Tynion brought it back.
It's romantic. I really enjoy it. I don't know. I like that, and this is why I defend Tom King's Batman. I really feel like he brings a classical take to Batman. I don't know why, but it just feels classical to me. It feels timeless, for lack of a better word.
Would you like to explain something that they started and dumped?
Sure.
When they're walking through the desert, him and his alternate Earth dad with the body of his mother.
I'll admit, I have not read that part yet. Wait a minute.
They never fucking address it. They never go back to it. They literally are in the goddamn desert riding fucking horses with a dead body with them. Like, literally, it is.
Jen's over here having the time of her life. Like,
I am.
She's gonna pop a beer and just be gone.
So one of my video reviews, like one of the episodes, I said that Tom King's Batman is like Seinfeld. It's a book about nothing. Like, literally nothing gets resolved. Like, it's just so lackluster. And then there's the issue where he has Tom Selleck mustache and he's doing push-ups with her on his back.
Yes, but it's pretty to look at. And that's kind of what I
just stared at Jen. I'm like, no.
Mikkel Janon's art, I don't remember what issue it is. It's in the earlier parts of it, though, when he's doing the like one-off push-ups or pull-ups on the helicopter pad in his little boxer briefs. I was like, damn, I need that framed over my fireplace. I don't have a fireplace, but my hypothetical fireplace, like, damn. It was weird, but I appreciated it.
I know Jen was like, I don't know if I should bring this up to her. Just like,
I was like, I knew that I wasn't going to try to bring it up. Like, not that I ever try to bring up Tom King, but I feel like, Tom King and Rob Liefeld and Frank Miller, and they all end up, 100% like this. I knew so it was going to come up, but it's funny that you literally tweet, like, on every single show, Dan has just bashed Tom King and Tom King Batman specifically. And like, knowing that you were going to come on the show, I'm like, okay, so maybe she watched like one of our previous episodes and you tweeted like, basically, this is the hill that I will die on, that I love Tom King's Batman. And I literally, like, I'm not going to...
She screen capped it and sent it to me.
And I'm like, I don't know whether I need to stoke this flame or warn her. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to bring it up. It's just, if it happens, it happens. You know?
It happens. Like, it's not an uncommon thing. There's a lot of people, and a lot of people that I'm good friends with. Like, I know Nat doesn't always agree with Tom King's Batman, and we're still BFFs.
So
but
Jen invoked a rule, her and Gambit, that if it came up, I had to drink. It was coming up so often. So Nat comes on the show and just starts going and going and going. I was like, please, God, stop.
Legitimate question. Am I the first person on your show who likes Tom King's Batman? Because if so, I feel like that's an honor.
Cinia is hot and cold with it. Like, she is.
Yeah, she is hot and cold with it. I did forget because we used to send panels of, like, we definitely sent those Mikkel Janin panels. Even the Tom Selleck mustache, and was like, oh, Daddy looks good today. And it'd be like, oh, we're talking about comics right now. But I understand that. I understand that, like, people.
Comic shop is bingo. I don't want that.
We need bingo now.
Yeah, you do.
But Gambit's the Liefeld one.
Yeah.
He literally did an imitation of a Liefeld cover while we were on one of our streams.
Well, that's easy. You just kind of puff out your chest and you go, there you go. I'm a Rob Liefeld cover. Like, bam. That's what it is.
Time out so Dan can grab the Prosecco drinking time. I'm about to go grab some popcorn. Like I thought I said I was going to have popcorn ready when this conversation came up, but I'm just Switzerland here. Like I really don't like read a lot of modern Batman titles. But
so I've collected Batman for 30 years. He got me to quit.
Oh no! See, and maybe it's because I don't read. Like I didn't like Scott Snyder's run of Batman. I absolutely hated it. I really liked his run. The
Court of Owls was really good.
Black Mirror. I really like Death of the Family. I liked that arc because I liked how weird, especially that last issue got with the whole face cutting stuff. I thought that was really unique and really like crazy and cool. But maybe it's because I didn't read a lot of Batman. Like obviously I read like some of the like hard hitting stories like Under the Red Hood, Batman Hush. But Tom King's Batman was the first one that got me to care. And maybe it's because it breaks that normal stereotype that we see from Batman comics. But I also understand that I'm the minority of people that really, really like Tom King's Batman.
Nat and I were going to do an episode just naming issues of Batman or story arcs you should read that aren't by Tom King that are better than Tom King's. Oh, like I literally, like when I found out he was leaving, I started clapping saying the evil is gone.
The evil has been defeated. That was me with Dan Didio being erased from DC Comics and with Scott Lobdell leaving Red Hood finally, because he's finally free after 10 years.
Of subpar books, yes. I like how some like shitty writers just prosper. He's one of them. Like his X-Men was horrible, and he just kept, as we like to call, failing upward.
Who, Rob Lobdell? Or I mean, yeah, Scott Lobdell. Rob Liefeld, Scott Lobdell, it's all the same. But Scott Lobdell is one of those ones where I feel like he had like some type of weird secret curse on like somebody at DC that was or he had blackmail on somebody at DC, because it's insane. Like I don't understand how somebody that writes characters that badly is allowed to be on a comic for that long. So,
like his X-Men run was so bad. Oh, the only one that was more forgettable was probably Brubaker's, because Brubaker just didn't give a shit. Like literally,
I didn't even know Brubaker did a run on X-Men. That's new.
Oh yeah, he did Uncanny, I think. And he was just like, it just started becoming all these like crossovers, and it's kind of like Remender did X-Force for a little bit, for like a minute, when they were the assassin team. Anybody got anything else to talk about?
I'm just Switzerland here, watching you. I love it though. Like all
right. You want to get completely okay. Let's get away completely from the big two. Dan, I know me and you had kind of talked about this a little bit, but the fact that Boom Studios is putting out Berserker, which is being written by Keanu Reeves, which is really cool. I mean, it is cool because Keanu Reeves has been in a lot of comics. We've seen the John Wick comic. I'm pretty sure there was a Bill and Ted comic. But the fact that Keanu is now writing a comic and he's like a big nerd, I think that's really awesome. And the book looks really good. I just have one problem.
What's the over-under on the amount of woes, he says?
The amount of woes. No, the problem I have is it's being published by Boom Studios, who does not have a really great track record when it comes to paying their artists and their creators. I came with fancy notes. So this is wait, where's my note? Hold on. So Boom Studios is notorious for not paying their creators on time, and having to be kind of like attacked and being like, hey, can you pay me now? They're also really notorious for paying really shitty rates to their comic creators, whether it be a writer, an editor, or a colorist. So, excuse me. I found a really interesting website that the latest was from 2017, but it's the rates that Boom Studios like typically offered. And for scripts, Boom Studio would offer $25. For colors, they would offer 25. For letters, they would offer 10. And like a cover, which normally when you look at like DC, Marvel, even Image, they look at like paying like 500 to 700 for a cover. Boom Studios was paying a max of 300 for a cover.
I believe
And
the artist for Big Trouble in Little China a couple of years ago posted all this.
there's a lot of people that are slowly coming out. I pulled these notes from the Creator Resource, which is a really great online resource for comic book freelancers and anybody wanting to get into comic books. It's done by Stephanie Cook, who's a really great asset to the comic book industry. And so she posts a lot of like handy tools and tips, but she's talking about Boom Studios a lot on Twitter, and a lot of other people are as well, just talking about how Boom takes advantage, especially of younger creators that are just kind of looking for their shot and aren't being paid proper rates. So it kind of rubs me the wrong way that they're probably going to pay Keanu Reeves the big bucks when they can't even pay, you know, regular creators their due. So it's just kind of, it's kind of annoying. I really hate it.
But yet they got Kieran Gillen and some of these other people over there, like, which surprised me when they came over and started doing like Once and Future and Something Is Killing the Children. So I started wondering like what brought them there, because it was kind of out of nowhere. All of a sudden they were bringing in bigger talent.
Maybe more recently they started paying a little bit more, but I'd really love to see, because I feel like Keanu Reeves does have that reputation in Hollywood for kind of like building the longer table and like paying the extra staff on the movie sets well. And so hopefully, I don't know if he has any choice in creative, like who would be drawing it, coloring it, any of that, but maybe if we tweet hard enough at him, or just end up on the same bus as he's on.
And like, especially now that like Boom is no longer a tiny publisher. Like they used to be, like a couple years ago, even like as early as like 4 or 5 years ago, they were kind of a smaller publisher. They didn't have as many big hits, but now they have that Netflix deal coming through. They have books like Once and Future, and like you said, Something Is Killing the Children. Like these are this is a publisher now that is publishing like 2 of the hottest books last year or this year or whatever. I don't know. Corona's made me lose track of time, but they're on the rise to becoming a really big publisher, and they might even be like right beneath Image Comics at this point, you know, especially now that like things like Dynamite are gone. But let's be honest, Dynamite only was around because they published 1 million pulp covers, and idiots like me were buying 9 covers of the same book. But
Dark Horse is pretty much neutered now. I mean, they lost Aliens, they lost Predator, they lost Star Wars. So like,
can you later? Can you the link that you found all that information with Boom? Can you send that to me when we're done? I'd love to go over that. Because I honestly didn't know any of that, so that's really cool to know.
Yeah, this has page rates. Again, like I said, this one in particular is 2017. She said on the resource that they weren't able to update for 18 or 19, unfortunately. But this has a lot of like comic book tea. But yeah, there's a lot of like really good comic book tea from other publishers, things that I didn't even really know about, but they definitely mentioned that Boom is the publisher that got the most complaints when they were taking their survey. And not only was it the most complaints, but it was like the most complaints 3 years consecutive. So obviously there's something going on there.
I know a while back, I had a friend who worked for Zenoscope, and it seemed like everything that he was saying about Zenoscope, I saw echoed online. And then it feels like Zenoscope is not that it ever really was on my radar, other than just like knowing some of the work that he did. But I feel like, do you think that Boom, I think I know the answer to this question, because I was going to say, do you think that Boom will go the way of Zenoscope and just be completely irrelevant? But with Netflix deals, I don't think it will, but
yeah. With Netflix deals, I don't think so, especially because you got Tinian that's out there tweeting things. So we know for a fact that Something Is Killing the Children. That's getting adapted. Like we know that for a fact. there's also rumors now that Wind is going to be animated as well.
Yeah.
Which would be really, really good, and I think would work for that type of book and style. But I'll be honest, I was shocked when I saw that Boom had picked up a Netflix deal, because I would expect that from Image first, and especially with something like The Old Guard and how massively successful that was, not only with comic book readers, because I feel like at this point it's kind of everybody's on the same page with saying it's probably one of the best comic book adaptions, and I agree. But it's taken the mainstream audience. Like, my mom watched The Old Guard and was like, this movie was really good. And I was like, do you ever want to read the comic now? And she's like, no. And I'm like, damn, I tried. But like, mainstream audiences were reading The Old Guard. My coworker was watching The Old Guard, and I'm like, I would like to see Image.
Charlize Theron, though, people know the name, so they'll check it out.
Yeah,
I think that
given a Sarah Connor vibe like hell in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes the indie, whenever indie books are adapted into films or TV shows, do a little bit better in bringing audiences into comic book stores, because that's always been one of my, like, not complaint, but it just sucks to hear people. Let me preface this. I don't want to be a gatekeeper. I don't want to be like, you can't call yourself a comic book fan if you only watch comic book movies. Like, just because you've watched all the Marvel movies doesn't make you a comic book fan if you haven't read a comic book in 30 years. Like, I feel that way, but I don't want to be a gatekeeper. However, I do feel like the indie adaptations end up getting people into comic books better than some of the mainstream Marvel stuff. Like, I feel like when I was at the comic book store, we had more people who came into the store who wanted the indie titles that were being adapted, as opposed to like, oh, Infinity Gauntlet, what should I read? You know?
And it's like, it's hard to start somewhere where it's like, oh, well, I saw Black Panther and I really like Black Panther, but where do I start? Because there's 8 different books on the shelf that say number 1. Whereas with an indie book, you're starting with, okay, this is 1 and that's it. And I mean, I don't want to talk about Dynamite any more than I have to, but the Boys Show on Amazon Prime, I was working in the comic book shop when that came out, and I had so many people coming in asking for that book. It was like, we couldn't keep it on the shelf. We couldn't get it ordered from Diamond because it was back ordered. Yeah. And I feel like the same kind of happened with Umbrella Academy, where everybody wanted to read that book. And it was another book that you couldn't keep on the shelf because it was indie, because they knew that they could walk into a shop, hey, I want Umbrella Academy, versus being like, hey, I want Black Panther. Okay, well, which Black Panther?
Yeah. Same thing with Lock and Key, but I think that Lock and Key, I remember seeing a ton of advertisement using Lock and Key for Comixology Unlimited.
Yes.
So I think that they did a really good job of like, oh, this is coming out. Comixology Unlimited has it available for you.
The one that got buried was I Kill Giants.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and that I feel like was a fantastic adaptation. 100%.
It was not promoted. It didn't hit the audience it needed to hit. And I'd also say, like, Alita Battle Angel, still, it's a movie that I think deserves to have a sequel, but I don't think it did anything for the manga, and also the advertising just didn't hit the audience. Like, it just didn't bring them in. It was beautiful.
Thank goodness that movie came out, 2 years ago as opposed to now.
Yeah.
Because I think that if Alita Battle Angel had come out earlier this year or was planning to come out this summer, it would have bombed even more than it did.
Speaking of, did you see the news with Disney today?
No. Wait,
they pushed everything.
Oh yeah.
Mulan and definitely Star Wars pushed. I forget what the other movie. Oh, Avatar yet again pushed. So that is making me even more nervous that this is going to be a dry year.
I think so. But I feel like I'm still holding out hope for Dune. My heart says Dune 2020.
For me right now, Candyman's the test.
Yeah, whether that does well in October.
Because that's October 12th, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
That's going to be the test. If theaters aren't open by then, it's done. There's no holiday season.
I think it could also be a matter of how saturated the movie theaters are with movies. Because if a movie theater has one movie and they just run it for the entire month, They can try to social distance as much as possible, you know, limit the theater, limit how many people are in, everyone has to wear masks. If they can do all of that and they can maybe do one movie, I think that they would have to do one movie a month for that to make sense. So let's do Candyman in October because duh, that makes sense. Then let's do Dune in November or maybe December and be that like big hit for Christmas if, you know.
Multiple prints to every theater so they can have, you know, if they have different houses in there, they can at least have different times so the social distancing kind of works.
Yep. Like we can go ahead and play the movie in this theater while this theater is being thoroughly cleansed and just do like something like that. That might be, I mean, even still, that's tough. And as I love the idea of a drive-through, or a drive-up experience, but I don't have a drive-through available because I don't have a car right now. But
Drive-in, not drive-through.
Sorry, no, I'm just literally gonna drive through. I've got drive-through strip clubs here, dude.
I know.
The cross-contamination of comics is largely overstated. I think comics could learn a lot.
Young adult book market for how to convert.
Yeah.
Which is true, but I mean, the young adult books is different because, you know, you had Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, like, had a huge, like, upswing after those movies. I mean, it was already big to start with, but...
Yeah.
I'm really sad because, like, there was a lot of movies I really was looking forward to seeing Tenet. Like, any Christopher Nolan movie, like, I'm down for. It looked weird. It was just my time, and the Dune trailer was supposed to be before it.
Yeah.
And,
Black Widow, Wonder Woman.
I'll just take the Dune trailer at this point. Like, I don't even need Dune. Just give me the trailer and I can watch that over and over.
I would pay VOD for it.
Yeah, $5. I will $5 like pay someone $5 to watch the Dune trailer.
Oh no, I would pay $5 to watch VOD, just the trailer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
okay.
$5 just to watch the trailer. Shit, if anyone's listening, like, can we auction it off for charity? Like, you offer 5, I'll offer 10, 20, and then, you know.
No, enough nerds like us pay $5 each, then they can donate the money for a huge contribution to a charity.
Yeah.
Maybe to get, you know, personal protection for people in medical, like, you know, the thing that our government can't seem to provide.
I was going to say clean water because, you know, Fremen and Dune. Sorry. But PPE is a lot more relevant.
Yeah, disease right now. I don't know. Like, maybe put some money towards funding vaccine research. I don't know. No, nothing important. I mean, I literally saw people out in the store today trying to get in wearing no shirt and no mask today. Publix didn't allow them in. So.
Oh.
When you got your pub sub.
Yes.
I miss Publix. I miss Publix so much.
Yes, it was delicious.
I want a chicken tender sub so bad. Can someone just get a pub sub and freeze it and send it out here to me?
So we're almost at the 2-hour mark, and I have to get ready for work because I go in to work overnights. So where can they find you, Mars?
You can find me, basically my handle is ThatComicGirlll for everything. So Twitter at ThatComicGirlll, Instagram at ThatComicGirlll, but with 3 L's because there's some dumb bitch that won't give up my handle and she hasn't posted anything in 10 years. Listen, just give me my handle so everything can be the same. So Twitter at ThatComicGirlll, Instagram at ThatComicGirlll, and YouTube at ThatComicGirlll.
Beautiful.
And Jennifer.
So on the YouTube, you can find me at Comics Will Break Your Heart. And Instagram, I'm at Comic Books Will Break Your Heart because same situation. Someone has Comics Will Break Your Heart and they're just not going to give it up. So kind of like, what's his name? Rick Astley, never going to give it up. Never going to let you down. And
Instagram won't listen when you're like, hey, look, this is an inactive account. Give it to me, please.
Just hand it over, man. But, you know, so yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm on Twitter, so I retweet stuff and watch like live stream protests on there. That's about it.
Yeah, watching moms get tear gassed and, you know.
Moms getting tear gassed and then our
mayor got tear gassed.
The mayor got tear gassed, which, you know, I could go on about that, but he was tear gassing the rest of Portland for like a month before he got tear gassed. And he's like, I don't want the feds to tear gas people. I want to tear gas people. I want to order the police to tear gas people, not these feds. I want to have all the fun. So
on Instagram, you can find me at comic_chop_news. Also on Twitter, I barely use it, but at Chop Comic, because every time I go on Twitter, all I see is nothing but bad shit about creators, and I'm kind of trying to just make my life a little bit better by just not being stressed.
And then it's me like, did you see this fucking shit?
You or the people I know who are like sending me stuff about the secret women's whisper network.
Shh, that's a secret. You can't. We're trying to bring down the patriarchy. Okay, it's a secret.
You can find Jen with Gambit and I on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we're going to be talking Rick Remender and Matteo Scalera's Black Science. You can imagine what this episode's going to be.
I have slightly nicer thoughts about Black Science than I did for Low. Craig Ticini's art just didn't do it for me.
Well, I'm hoping Sid will at least remember that we're doing it, or she's getting YouTube alerts. She got rid of all her social media.
I'll send it to her on CD-ROM.
I'm already depressed that I can't get a hold of her anymore because she wiped out all her social media. And if you ever see us doing a book that you might want to jump into one of our book clubs on, feel free to message one of us.
Absolutely.
If there's something you really need to talk about, next 2 weeks we're doing Wednesday episodes. So our dates keep shifting because of Jen's days off. So
and they may shift again. So put that on pause, and I apologize.
I don't really care. Like, I mean, I went like weeks without doing a show at one point. And
thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. I had a lot of fun
here.
Of course, always.
I like always. Every time we have a guest, I get nervous. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do something stupid.
We're all just stupid comic book nerds. Okay,
that's the brand.
You get a feel of like how random and not focused or practiced or scripted or anything else we do prepared.
It's all live for our viewers. We do this for you.
And thank you to our chat and everybody who participated and watched. We appreciate the hell out of you for joining us on this fine day that's only partially on fire. And remember, wash your hands, wear a mask.
Social distance.
Social distancing.
Don't go if you're sick.
Yeah.
And punch your local Karen. That's what I almost did the other day while getting coffee.
I'm in a store full of Karens.
I'm sorry, bud.
I don't know what you call a male Karen. Are they a Carl?
A Ken. I think that's what they were calling the like AR-15 dude.
Yeah. So I'm in a store full of all. Oh, Santa, why are you doing that?
Henry Tom King. I agree. I concur.
Real quick before we leave. What's your thought on Strange Adventures so far? Because Jen and I kind of were like in a quandary.
I have all 3 issues, but I've only read issue 1. I don't know why. But I think I enjoyed it. I will say that I really like Tom King when he takes these characters that most people don't care about, a la his Mr. Miracle. And he makes you care about them and he makes you focus on them. So to me, Adam Strange was somebody that I think showed up in some type of, I don't know, he showed up in something at some point. But I will say I really like the concept of the bouncing artwork and the 2 styles between the 2 timelines. I think that really works for it, but it's definitely a book that I'm going to have to reread and catch up on because it hasn't been since quarantine started, which
issue 2 and 3 kind of bounce around to like characters and you kind of lose focus of what the book is.
I'll have to catch up.
I feel like at this point I feel like we're seeing a style of like the way that he has those character moments where they're just having casual conversations. Like when I think of Tom King style, like I think of that like Mr. Miracle, where like him and Big Barda are like fighting, not each other, but like they're fighting, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna redecorate and we can, you know, knock this wall down and do this. And so there's moments where I like that with Tom King, but I don't know if I've like hit that with Strange Adventures, but I haven't read issue number 3 yet. So
Yeah.
It's a different beast altogether. I'm not getting the emotional connections like I was from the Mr. Miracle or Vision, where that Vision issue still with Scarlet Witch.
That's a good,
That was
that book.
really good.
That book hits you in the chest, and I can honestly say is the reason why I finally started reading Marvel. So that's a good series. So I'd like to see Tom King do something indie, because unfortunately we haven't seen him do that yet. I feel like Tom King literally, like I met Tom King before when he was still doing Grayson. So it feels like Tom King literally just kind of popped into DC Comics, where usually it's the other way around. Usually you do indie stuff first and work your way up to the big two. So I'd like to see Tom do something completely of his own where he's not restricted, because I feel like that's what happens a lot with DC Comics. Obviously, we've already seen it with Heroes in Crisis. We definitely saw it in Batman, I feel like, where he has these really great ideas and really different ideas where he wants to break that comic book medium. But I'm sorry, Dan. But I feel like he gets tied down by editors.
that makes sense.
Or he gets them fired like he did on Batman, where because he didn't get the artist he wanted, he went and got his editor fired. So
nobody's perfect, Dan.
My hot take is all of these students of Scott Snyder's, his writing students, get kind of privileged jobs with DC, and they end up doing Batman. They do pale imitations of Scott Snyder's Batman.
I can see it, and I kind of agree with you, but I totally
They add their own twist, but like it just feels like they're trying to kind of ape him a little bit, and I don't even know what Scott Snyder is anymore, because like as he's gone on as a writer, I feel like he's gotten a little worse. Mm-hmm. I will say this though, I would love to see Tom King do a horror book just to see what it would be.
I would like to see it with maybe like a non-white or non-white male character.
Like an emotional ghost story.
Ooh.
And then we'll end up with like what's that? Oh God, what's the Dorian Gray? It'll end up being like that, probably. But
yeah.
He'll do his own League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He'll just follow Alan Moore, redoing all his properties.
Yeah. He'll do Watch. Well,
he don't work, Jack. He's already there.
But trying to kill Robert Redford, President Robert Redford.
Yeah. That's
what the story's about.
I'm kind of here for it, but we'll see.
Doing my Macarena flipping the bird. I'm not here for it. I don't need any more of Watchmen.
I'll do like a reading ASMR
no,
of
it. I agree. Watchmen should have ended at Watchmen instead of beating a dead horse for money. But
are we beating it, or are we just flogging it at this point? Like
I think we're squeezing. I think we're squeezing it from like the head down and just pushing outward.
I love the HBO series so much. That's the hill that I
really
will die on.
I need to watch that. I've heard really good things on that, and I don't have a problem with that show. It sounds oxymoronic, but I do have problems with all of these like origin stories that they were doing. Like right before the New 52, they were doing all of these like mini runs.
Before Watchmen.
Yeah. And it's
like just let it go. Like just leave Alan Moore the fuck alone. It's just like just let him be in his cave.
We have to. We have to.
Do you think they do it on purpose just to like get back at him and be like,
yeah.
It's just sad.
I mean, the fact if they didn't reprint the book every year, he'd have the property back. He'd own it again.
Yeah.
I don't think he would take it back at this point, though. So
Probably not. He'd probably sell it for money.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, if I were DC, I would at least give him something.
Yeah.
Just be like, look, you're never getting this shit back. Like, here's at least like the Rob Liefeld Deadpool deal where we're gonna give you 10%. It won't ever happen.
Yeah. Hail indeed.
You're just gonna be late for work, all in the name of.
Hail.
Yes, she is kind of right. So with that being said, thank you for coming on, Mars.
Thank
really
you for having
appreciate
me.
it.
Thank you.
And again, open invite if you want to come back on. And it's been a nutty episode. I had no idea it was going to go this long. We talked a lot. We said a lot.
We did.
And join us Sunday for the book club. And so long, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.